Hello, everybody. Welcome to my cave. Oh my God, what day is it? It is May 12th. We're in week 375 of the lockdown. I made that joke last week, I think. And I think last week I said, I don't want to make that joke anymore. It is my cross to bear. My brain just wants to make the same jokes over and over. Hi, everybody. I hope I hope today finds you in a good mood. I hope the weather where you are is suitable for going out and taking in some fresh air at a reasonable distance from other fellow humans. I hope that you and your family are safe and sound. I'm just trying to see if I can get this to go full screen, but I don't think I can. All right. I've had a lot of fun in the shop this week. I made a very precise machine, or I made a cool machine precisely. I made a precise machine precisely. Those two things are also true. And I'm getting into this phase where there's enough things lined up that I'm really excited about building that I'm starting to feel like a little bit like there's just not enough time to do it all. And I don't know where I think that my time is going to go. I'm here every day, but there it is. I'm starting to feel like I just got this. Oh, look at this. Look at this. This is a 1.5-inch square piece of aluminum bar. Oh, this is just regular 60, 61 aircraft aluminum, I think. And a chunky chunk like this. This is a tasty chunk. I would refer to it. But I'm going to take some of your questions. However, first I'm going to do a little craft project, and it involves fake money. I have always been obsessed with play money. I have all sorts of versions of it. I loved the fact that Milton Bradley allows you to download files from Monopoly Money and print your own. I have always been fascinated by it. As a prop, as an object, for some reason, I love it in movies when you see big briefcases of worn out bills, and there's something about that I mean, obviously, like, it's pleasurable to look at large stacks of money. It's it makes the world go round. But I have also spent a lot of time over the years weathering money for different props, films, and personal projects and other stuff like that. For instance, like my Born box, right? I made a lot of outdated bills. Now this is we're in an interesting area here when we talk about play money. These are stacks of play money that I purchased on Amazon, and we'll include a link when we crack this out later on in the week. In the description, we'll include a link. It's really important to be careful with this stuff because, like, I really like these because they got these big, like, Japanese characters on the front, and it says copy, and there's ways in which you'd have to really work at ignoring a lot of the signs that this is not real in order to, like, try and spend it. But know that if you did try and spend it, the Secret Service would not give a crap about your explanation that you didn't realize it. They would consider you to be a counterfeiter. It is not an area to be played with. You don't want to go out and, like, throw one of these up in traffic. That is a guaranteed way to ruin a significant portion of the next few months of your life. There was a wonderful artist years ago named J.S.G. Boggs, one of my favorites. Oh, I think I can. There we go. J.S.G. Boggs had a fabulous thing that he did, which is what he used rapidographs, super fine pointed ink pens, to meticulously hand draw bills. U.S. currency bills, all sorts of different bills. He was obsessed with it, with money, and he would draw $1 bills, $100 bills. And one of the things he loved to do was he considered the bill itself not to be a piece of artwork, but if you could obtain a transaction with his bill, that was the art. So he would this is one of the things he would do. He would draw a $100 bill by hand, and it would say drawn by JSG Boggs. And if you looked at it as clearly, he'd draw both sides, and he'd spend hours and hours and hours doing them. These are beautiful pieces of art. And then he would take this thing to a store and he'd say, hey, I have this, and it's a piece of art that I made. It is not real money. I am not trying to represent to you that it's real money. However, I consider this piece of art, he would say, to be worth $100. And if you would indulge me, I would like to trade you this $100 bill for a certain amount of merchandise that is under $100. And then I'd like you to give me a receipt and the change for $100. And the change and the receipt would be part of the art of the bill that he would draw. Now, all that sounds to me like a fairly wholesome occupation, right? That like, if you can make a living doing that, that is awesome. The Secret Service saw it very, very differently. They did not like that he was hand drawing US currency, despite the fact that it seemed like a stretch, that it could be mistaken for the real thing. They visited him and took his computers a couple of times, if I remember correctly. So just know that a dude who hand drew bills got in trouble with the Secret Service. So you best be careful. Don't go trying to scan your money or print it out. If you really want to contribute, you should try and design your own money. I have tried to do it. I've tried to design my own currency bills in Photoshop. I even bought, a text that's on a bill. And it's hard to use this font. There's like a lot of different options, shading and wood cutting and drop shadows and everything. But it's really hard to make stuff that looks authentically like money, even if it's not money from your country. It's a wonderful graphic challenge. And then once you have printed up your money, how are you going to, wait, who's that from? Oh, hey, there we go. Sorry. Let's see here. I'm being asked to pause Dropbox. That's right. Okay, sorry about that. Quit Dropbox. There we go. Cool. Hopefully that is doing better. Hold on, let me just see here. Yes, Dropbox could be syncing because I've been uploading videos all day. Just Kalo, let me know if that's working better. Apparently I was in low res and I was maybe even buffering. Sorry about that. It's hard to remember all the things. It's hard to remember all the things. So let's talk about let's say you have designed your own currency for, yes, I am connected to the Ethernet for sure. Hold on. Let's just try this, double checking. Sorry about that, everybody. This is life without a personal infrastructure. That's what we're doing. Awesome. Hi, sorry I was low res for a while. I was talking about play money, and I was talking about making money props, which shows up in theater and movies from time to time. And know that even though the movie industry attempts to make money that couldn't be mistaken for real money, the Secret Service keeps very close tabs and has changed their parameters many times as people take movie money and accidentally try and spend it. So again, all this is a long set of stories to explain to you that you should be very, very careful should you decide to make a money prop. Now, if you want to make a money prop, let's talk about how to weather it, because this just, this is great for if you're shooting a short film about a bank robbery. Yeah, you can buy these on Amazon or anywhere you want to go and buy some stacks of them and put those in a duffel bag. But honestly, it's more evocative when it's been in circulation, right? Unmarked bills. So I'm going to weather some money, and it involves a kind of, this is one of those tedious tasks that I try and, it's a tricky one, right? Because if I just did this with every single bill, I'd end up with a stack of bills that all look like they're crumpled. And that's also not that interesting. So I try and do some folds. I try and mix it up. If you ever looked into computer science and looked into random number generators, you know that computers have a hard time generating random numbers because they're essentially not random. So they do this sort of semi-random numbers. But in addition to computers, you should know that human beings are also terrible at being random. In fact, one of the ways you can find a tax cheat is you can start to look at the numbers that are in their tables of expenses, and you can tell mathematically often when people are cooking the books because human beings are so bad at choosing and coming up with random numbers. This is also a thing that plagues prop makers, prop masters. How do you simulate, like, this is 100 bills that I'm going to weather? How do you simulate 100 separate stories, right? Each bill has some kind of story. It sat in 100 pockets and, went through all sorts of different adventures. And you really want the stack to kind of have that kind of narrative about it. So you got to mix it up. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to try and, ooh, yeah, there's one. Let's try some of those. I'll just do. I mean, it's actually when you do this, is you start to understand just how durable money is. And it's built to be crazy durable. It is a cotton, I believe I believe our money has a lot of cotton in it, and it's got a huge amount of tensile strength. One of the tests they do to make sure that U.S. money is suitable for circulation is they do this thing where they roll it super tightly, and then they put it in this tube and they compress it in this tube. So they make this like tiny little pill of a bill, and then they unwrap it, and then they do that again. And a piece of US currency has to be able to survive like some number of, like that times 5 or 10, some number of those, if I remember correctly, something close to 10, and not rip. So like you'll see when I play with this and add a little water to the mix, this stuff starts to deteriorate very rapidly because copy paper doesn't have a lot of tensile strength to it. It's not at all currency. And of course, if you go to some place like New Zealand or Australia, well, they have gorgeous money. And most of the rest of the world has great looking money that's changing all the time because they're bringing new designs into the circulation. But also, there's a lot of plastic money out there now. Super durable, super cool looking plastic dough. In fact, in my wallet, the second to last big trip I made before we all sheltered in place was I went to New Zealand. And well, apparently I'm still planning on going back because I have a couple $100 of New Zealand cash in my wallet. And I'm keeping it there. It's aspirational. That's my idea. Head a little hot there. So turn this to the side. Is that a little better? Yeah, now my whole forehead is super bright. YouTube, here's a feature that I would like. I know chat. I know you can turn on chat. It's just this endless stream. I can't see it with my eyes through my glasses from here. But is there a way in which one of these platforms, YouTube or Twitch or somebody, could give me some broader audience feedback? I'm a performer. I like the feedback I get from an audience. It's a conversation, and it's a really interesting conversation. Anyway. That's just my little complaint about yelling into the void here in my cave in San Francisco. We're almost to the end of this stack. Oh, we could just toss a couple in there without. Yeah. Ooh, I lost one. Just toss a couple in there. I had a friend who was in the Peace Corps, and he was stationed in some African country that had a terrible inflation problem where, you know, it costs you literally weighed your money rather than counted it because it had been so ridiculously devalued. And he said that, you know, they all brought enough dough with them in the Peace Corps to survive for a year. And then they changed it for the local currency. And in the local currency, like everybody had like a suitcase full of cash. I don't mean to laugh, right? Like an inflationary, runaway inflation is a horrifying and just really can't. That's awful. I'm terrified of it happening here. But at the same time, I find the idea. Oh, so what he said was they would play poker at night, these Peace Corps volunteers, and they'd have stacks of cash around them because the cash currency was nearly worthless. Okay, so now I've got my container full of our bills, and I've got some espresso from my home coffee machine because, well, I saved some espresso from my home coffee machine, and I'm about to. Yeah, I guess so. I lost the brush that I had, but I thought this one was beautiful. I don't even remember where I got this brush. I believe I'm not positive what this is actually for, but I just think this is gorgeous. And so, oh wait, I need a cup. Hold on. There we go. Put some in there. This is like a cooking show. So I am going to. My goal is to get some of this money dirty, but not all of it. I don't want it all wet. That's no good. But I do want, yeah. So I want some of it to get stained, not all of it. I don't want to overly abuse it. I don't want to start tearing these bills in here. Oh yeah. And all of a sudden, it's starting to actually, you know, you look down in there and it's starting to feel like more like bills, more like something that has the narrative of money. I think that's all the coffee I need. I often keep a little bit of espresso here in a jar just for the kind of weathering I like to do. There's a way in which the stain of coffee is just so. Yeah. Okay, I think. Yeah, maybe I do a little bit more. Maybe I do just a tiny bit more. I am actually going, there's going to be multiple steps to this. And during one, I will pause the making of the fake money and I will start taking questions. This is great. Let's see here. Yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry this money out, but first I'm going to put it back into stacks. So now I'm uncrumpling. Now I'm taking out the damage, and I'm going to dry it, and I'm going to dry it in my oven here at the cave. You have an oven at the cave? Yes, I have an oven here. It is not actually an oven for food. It's a lab oven. A couple of years ago, I realized that we were doing some stuff about transferring images. What were we doing? One was a process of trying to do dry transfers, rub on dry transfers, and another was a process I think Jen Schachter was researching for transferring a resist, I believe, i.e. an acid resist for etching metal. And we needed an oven. So I started to look at toaster ovens and I realized, you know, if I'm going to get one for the cave, I should get a big one. And when I looked at big toaster ovens, like the biggest internal volume, I was getting up in the price range. Into like the $300 range for one with the temperature spread that I wanted, plus the high temperature range. And I ended up spending a little more and getting a lab oven, which has been a wonderful boon. I do a lot of drying stuff in it. It's very controllable. Its lowest temperature is about 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which is totally a reasonable temperature that's not going to damage anything specific. So once I get these stacked, we are going to dry them out. Then I'll take some questions. And then before the end of today's live stream, we'll take a look at our stacks and see what we can do. Oh, you know what? Every now and then, just like take one of these little corners and bend it really tight. That's going to happen. You're never going to have perfect corners. And one of the things when you do this is you often end up with the money's weathered, but all the corners are perfect. And they're not. Like money corners are they're missing. They're damaged. These are actually made of some reasonable paper. I like the way they feel. You know, the one thing they're missing is they don't smell. It doesn't smell like money. I bought a facsimile from this company in Italy that makes incredible facsimiles of Da Vinci's codices. I bought and spent a fair bit of dough on a really unbelievable replica of the Leicester Codex. I'll do a show and tell on it. The Leicester Codex was formerly known as the Hammer Codex. It is the Da Vinci notebook that was purchased from Armand Hammer, Armie Hammer's dad, grandfather, I think dad. Anyway, that was purchased from Armand Hammer by Bill Gates. And sometimes people name a thing after themselves. That's why it was known as the Hammer Codex. And sometimes people don't, which is why it's now known as the Leicester Codex, which is what Bill Gates has decided to call it instead of the Gates Codex. Anyway, I bought this beautiful replica of the Leicester Codex. And aside from the astounding craftspersonship that went into this magnificent piece, like every stain, every hole in the paper, just really incredible work. I noticed that it smelled like an old book. And I was like, how does this thing smell like an old book? I'm a prop maker, and I know that nothing I make ever smells like the real thing. I mean, I'd like it to, but if this smells like an old book, and I was just thinking about it, it's like maybe there is a source for old book smell. So I did a Google search for old book cologne, and I'm here to tell you there's two. There are two. So there's the specific like tannins and acids and enzymes that books release as they rot, as they age, as they just sit there on the shelf from the contents of the paper. There are two different companies that have bottled that into a cologne, and it's a really, really compelling smell. Oh, I was so happy to learn about that. I've got them in my cabinet over in the office. I find that super enjoyable. The idea that you could get old cologne, old book smell in a cologne. I haven't ever worn it out. I'm not a cologne wearing guy. Yeah, it's just not my thing. It's not my thing. It's not my bag, baby. However, maybe there is I haven't actually looked for a cologne that smells like money, but now that I say it out loud, I'm totally sure that it exists. Okay, so let us, we're almost there. Oh, another corner, take it off. This is going to be cool. These are going to look great when we're all done. And you know, 150 degrees is usually the low temperature of anybody's oven. And I actually did a test run of this last night in our home oven, and it's not going to set fire to paper like this. Not to say you should leave it overnight and not pay attention to it, because you really should pay attention to it and not leave it overnight. But 150 degrees is a great temperature to dry something out without damaging it and make it a little more brittle. Okay, two more to go. take off another corner. And I'm going to get a tray. 1 second. Got this porcelain? No, enamel metal tray. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in here and kind of lay it out like that. And I'm gonna put this in my lab oven, and we're gonna check back in a little while. Excellent. Truth be told, I have it at 175 degrees. All right. I want to set a timer. Okay, here we go. Let's set a timer for 30 minutes. 31 minutes, sure. Let's see how the money did. All right. Hot plate, hot plate. Okay. Oh, okay. This is nice and crispy, but it has all bold. Okay. So it has all gotten the same kind of, here, I'm going to come back here. There we go. It has all gotten the same kind of like scoop to it. And that's problematic. You want to not have that. So I am going to gather this up. And I'm going to clamp it. I'm going to clamp it with, come on, where are you? Oh, wow, I've almost used this forever. Here we go. Okay. My clamping area needs a little help. And the thing is I have things in the clamping area, and I have clamps in the clamping area, and then I hang things off the big handles from the clamps. This is one of the 2 tools in my shop that I got from my grandfather's workshop. So we're going to take this clamp, I'm going to use it to, and I'm just going to beat this one up a little bit and kind of give it a little bit of weathering. And also I'm going to turn the bills around. Looks like I'm doing a slop shuffle. Okay, so get this in here. Oh, you know what? I need a couple pieces of wood for that. Let's see. That's one. That's another. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna. I don't want them sticking out like that. I don't like that. I think that's actually going to be problematic. My grandfather was a maker. He had a workshop in his house in Palisades, New York, and yeah, did all sorts of home DIY projects. Actually, one that I'm going to do as a tested one-day build. My grandfather built a remote control volume control for a 1970s era television. And it was entirely mechanical. This thing was, you got to see it. And you will see it because I'm going to make it. All right. Yeah, let's see here. Okay. Great. Let's set that over there. And I'll unpack it in a, oh, you know what? Actually, here, let's, hey, let's add a little bit of staining. And again, to the corners, because these get beat up into the corners. And later, when I open these up, and then reorder the bills, I'll get some more randomized weathering out of that. Yeah, so I can also go in. Yep, a little bit of that. And all I'm doing here is I'm beating up the edges of these bills a little bit in a way it's gonna look great later, I promise. Okay. Let's get back to the questions. My God, my hair is just so, it's driving me nuts. Question for this type of project. Birdie Birds wants to know, what's the best way to make prop money look soiled from blood and dirt? I'm working on a prop piece and I need the cash bundles to look like that. Dirt's pretty easy. Blood, not so easy. That's a really tricky one. Because what you have to know is blood's not red for very long. So if you're making a prop that's got to look like it's been bloodied, you got to answer the question, like, was the stacks of, like, someone die on the money? Did they bleed on it, or did they get blood on it? And these are two different things. And you're gonna want to ride this line between making it, because like dry blood is almost black, right? It's dark brown. But if you made it dark brown, it kind of would look like someone wiped their butt with it, right? So you got to kind of have some redness in there. What is one of the, I was just watching something where the dry blood was like definitively browner than most prop people do. And I thought that was really good, but there's just a hint of red to let you know. I mean, you've got to experiment with it. You've got to experiment with trying some different tests of color. And realize that if it really is like soiled, if that's part of the narrative, that it's soiled with blood and dirt, then you might need to like make up a mixture of a reddish brown paint and soak part of the money in it, right? Like that may be something that you've got to do. I also might look up, I wonder if you could find pictures of actual blood-soaked money. There's this house they found somewhere in Mexico, I think, that was like drug cartel house full of like millions of dollars in cash. And it was like the bed was like a bedspread over a stack of cash that was as big as the one from Breaking Bad. I mean, that was $100 million, but like this was, you got to look at pictures of this crazy house. It's insanity, but not blood soaked. So your question though, what is the best way? The answer is there is no best way. There's the way you figure out how to do it. Yeah, there's that's really the thing. It may be that you've got to like take a brush and kind of work at a whole bunch of different bills and then take the stack and then affect the stack, right? I think that's like a multi-stage process. And then you should do some tests with different paints to see under the lighting conditions, these will be seen. I don't know if it's for a theater or a film. Does it communicate? Does it tell you that it's bloody, dirty money? That's the question to be asking. You got to hold it up and look at it and be like, does that sell to me? And you ask other people, does this sell? And like most of the time they're going to go, no. And you got to keep on going. But it's trial and error. My goodness. Okay. So let's see how our clamped money has done. So now let's start shuffling this. And again, it's all about trying to make the weathering feel as organically random as possible. Your eye, we might be terrible at imitating randomness, but we're really great at spotting a lack of randomness. And that means the threshold for getting stuff to look like it's been beat up is tricky. So I do lots of different things to mix it up. Okay, so I will leave that one folded. So now I tend to prefer, let me grab one thing here. when it comes to like the bad guys and stacks of cash, I tend to prefer a specific method of binding that I think looks kind of great. And you see now, so hold on, here we go. And it's a little rubber band on each end. Somehow to me, that feels like a stack of illicit cash, right? Like that satisfies 12-year-old me's idea about like a Mission Impossible episode that involves the fake cash. And so here, for reference, there's our original stack. That's really blown out. Let me, there we go. That's a little better. There's our original stack, and here's our weathered stack. I think you'll agree. This one feels a lot more like money than this one. Let's see. Let's take one last question. Fail list. Fail list. That's great. Did you enjoy the final episode of Mythbusters, or were you sad to see all your hard work destroyed? Well, we didn't destroy any like artifactual pieces of Mythbusters history. We certainly abused some, and we manufactured a lot. Dennis Kwan and our whole team of associate producer researchers, Yvette Solis, Jax Marker, Dennis Kwan, Eric Haven, they went absolutely bananas. And Dennis was, I think, at the forefront of this, gathering all of that material for me to drive through the center of. So it was their hard work, really, for that episode. And it was purpose done for that episode. And the point of the episode was a narrative that I helped construct with our producer and with Jamie and with Discovery. So we had an aim, and the aim was achieved by the destruction. So I didn't mind the destruction because that was the point, right? People ask us all the time at Industrial Light and Magic, when you make something to blow up, does it bother you to work so hard on something and then blow it up? And the answer is no, not at all. You actually made it to blow up. You built it so that it looked good when it was blowing up. And that meant that you didn't just paint the outside of a ship. You painted the inside black and some chrome accents, and you put some foam in there and some chunky chunks and stuff that would be shrapnel and look good on the slow motion shot, right? All of that was to deliver an effect. So the destruction is, it's part of the job. That was a really elegiac day. I remember it super keenly. I remember making the drive, not being able to see through most of it, getting to the end, high-fiving with Steve-O and the team, Jamie. I mean, on Alameda there with San Francisco like Oz in the distance, it's such a beautiful location. I really enjoyed making that last episode. I really enjoyed making the whole last season. I'm grateful to Discovery for letting us call it a last season. And I don't know what this is, letting us call it a last season. They were a great partner in that. And it allowed us not only to create a narrative in which we said goodbye to the fans, but it also allowed us to say goodbye to the fans. So everything about that last day of shooting was Excelsior, was over the top and delightful. And luckily enough, I still get to work with a lot of those awesome people on projects now. And every time I do, it's like going home again. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining me, especially for this weird little craft project of my particular obsession with fake play money. Hey, if you have designed fake money and you want me to know about it, go ahead and send me. Don't send me counterfeit shit. I don't need to get in trouble with anybody. But like, if you've made your own currency for some fictional universe, I totally am interested in seeing that. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope and trust that you and your family are staying safe. Please wear your masks. Please wear them everywhere. They are not just to protect you. They are mostly to protect other people. And we could kill this thing. We could kill this thing handily if every single person just wore a mask. I want nothing for everyone to be healthy and be able to get back to work safely. And we've got to do that carefully. Thank you guys for joining me. I know I've already said that, but I'm feeling very grateful. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday at the same bat time at the same bat channel. All right. Have a great one.